on the Department of Commerce Cooperative Marketing Program landing page. So welcome, my name is Pat Doyle. I am the Marketing Director for the Montana Department of Commerce. Thank you for all of our partners that were able to contribute in our partner survey that really went a long way to informing the plan that we were able to put together for this year's program. We do have 3 speakers today. So Paula Serafino with Medium Giant is going to speak to our media vendors for this year. Lizzie Duffy Anderson with Windfall is going to go over our crowd riff offerings. And finally, Pat Holland-Sturger with the data manager with the Montana Department of Commerce is going to go over some of the data and research resources that the Montana Department of Commerce offers our industry partners. I know we only have an hour today and a lot to go over. So if you have questions, please save them till the end. All 3 of our presenters today are going to have a slide that will give more information on how to contact them to keep these conversations going offline if you have questions, want to engage in any of these programs, things like that. So without, don't take up any more of your time, Paula, the floor is yours.
Okay. Will you be sharing these document or do you want me to share mine?
If you don't mind sharing yours, that would be great, Paula.
All right. I'm sorry. I thought, my apologies. There was just one slide that I sent that I want to include. Actually, I don't think it's there. All right. I will go off of what I have, which is missing a demo, but if we want to see the demo, I can certainly, I can follow up with it. Okay, so let me. Okay, so I've presented to many of you in the past. I don't know how many are actually new hearing some of this for the first time, but we have some enhancements to the JV program. Thank you all for your patience as we pull this information together. There's a lot moving in the background, which I can explain further. But what we're looking to do is optimize the existing program. We've had conversations. We sent out surveys. We wanted to get everyone's feedback. And, you know, what we heard was, we want more partners. Some partners were called out very specifically. And, you know, also, can we have lower budget level options or can we have higher? So we've tried to achieve all that. So what is here is the 12 partners that we will be moving forward, but 11 of those are paid media only. Crowd riff is handled by the folks over at Windfall. But currently, for the last several years, you've been running with Sojourn. So we added Adara. Sojourn and Adara are pretty much in the same category. So we would recommend that you select one of these 2 versus both of them. We added online travel agent as a category. I don't know how many years ago if it was used prior, but if you're not using TripAdvisor with your current media plan, you have the option to invest with the co-op match for that. Pinterest will remain the same. We are adding Outside Magazine run-of-site banners within their network of sites, which includes Backpacker, Men's Journal. There are a bunch of different endemic type sites within their network, as well as standalone email newsletters. June Group is a partner that we are keeping intact, and we are adding another partner, Simplify, which is a demand side platform doing many different things, but they're most known for their geofencing precision capabilities. Within the programmatic space, you've been running native social options. And we are keeping Teads on the plan, but also extending Teads to have some connected TV and video options. Simplify will have this as well. So this is another situation where I recommend, if you have the budget, do one or the other. If you want to do both, I think that that's fine. Maybe different seasons, you can try them. The same thing would go for streaming audio. So we've been running Pandora and we are adding Spotify. I'm waiting on confirmation from Spotify on exactly how this could work for co-op, but this is our plan to run it on some level. So if you have the budget, you could do Pandora and Spotify because they are reaching different audiences. We do that for the Department of Commerce, but if you decide you want to split them up, you can do one season and one another if budget allows. A lot of people asked about rich media, so we're excited to announce that Undertone is our rich media vendor of choice. So that will also be a selection. When we look at the contribution, so basically what's highlighted here in yellow is what's new. So there's a new investment contribution breakpoint at $750, and that will only be for mobile geofencing and Pinterest. You'll see asterisks where you see those. It's basically indicating that there will be some minimums associated. So for instance, if you're going to run mobile geofencing at a total investment with the Commerce Match at $1,500, you might only be able to run that for 1 month, and you might only be able to run that against a specific, max set of geographies. We do this because we don't want to spread your budget too thin. We don't want to say, yes, you can spend $2,000 on something, run it for 3 months and run it across a dozen geographies, especially if they're really big DMAs. You're not going to get the scale. You're not going to get the effective eyeballs that you want. So we also added a breakpoint of 15,000 with the matches 30. So if your budget allows in a given time frame for winter or warm season and you want to spend $30,000, you can certainly do so now. And I'm sure to some degree that was, probably an opportunity to spend more, but we worked with the commerce team to, have this new higher breakpoint in place. So, this will be provided to you in more formal documentation, but if you decide you like, the group of partners that I shared, you want to test anything new, and you know what those breakpoints are on in a guided fashion on how you can invest, this is the information that'll help you earmark those funds. And then what we're doing is the conversation that we've had with the commerce team is we're trying to keep everything as streamlined as possible. So streamlined as possible is really to try to run as many partners that are consistent. I think there's really only one new partner that we're testing here. But to try to keep everything consistent. And with that, it's the geography that they have identified through all of the research they've done with their research partner, Lawrence and Schiller. So a lot of work has gone into these select geographies and these target personas. So some target personas will make sense during a given season, some may not. Maybe camping and RV won't be the greatest thing to put your money towards during the winter season, but definitely makes sense during the warm season. So as you've previously had in your orders, you requested a secondary audience, a primary audience, primary geo, secondary geo. We're not going with that this time. You're going to be able to have the selections on your targets and your geos and allowing the platforms to run them as the inventory allows. Otherwise, you may get scale in some area and not scale in another. And for us to constantly bouncing back and forth saying, you're not going to be able to afford that secondary audience with your budget, we're just trying to keep it as streamlined as possible. So these are the personas. Again, these have been vetted by Department of Commerce. These have been created and vetted by Lawrence and Schiller. Every agency partner for the state for these seasonal programs are completely on board with these audiences. So this is how, when you want to target a history buff, this is the way we're going to target them. If you're interested in the Exploring for Adventure audience or this older Our Time to Travel audience, this is how we're going to be targeting to keep it as consistent as possible. We talked before about an optimized workflow, and I'm excited to announce that this workflow is in motion now. We have approval to create this platform that you'll all be able to go into, and you'll be able to access documents and select your program. After you opt in to participate, you will have your own instance. And as I have highlighted here in blue, and I mentioned before, everything's going to be very rules-based. So as I mentioned previously, and we're getting all this from the vendors directly, saying if someone is spending $5,000, how many months can they run? How many geographic regions can they run? And how many personas can they select? And based on their calculations, the availability, optimal region frequency, all that good stuff, they're telling us that. So when you go into the system that we're creating, this portal, you'll be able to select, but if you're picking too much that is out of the established criteria parameters, and you have too little, it will start to gray out for you, but you'll have a cheat sheet on what you can do. All of that is to come. And then, this is the activation workflow that we're working on right now. So orders are going through the system, email alerts are going through the system. A QA document will be provided to you that, you need to check off A, B, and C to make sure you have that in your package of assets, and 1, 2, and 3 in terms of, did you run your banner through an HTML5 validator? Do you have a border pixel on your banners? All the things that you need to know in order for us to have the ads to spec. And we'll kind of have this system in place where we don't have to rely so heavily on emails back and forth. And then, as I showed before, this is like as basic, right, as it could be for when we originally concepted this, but we came up with a design, and we have the state's brand book of assets. So we're, it'll be colored based on, Department of Commerce, how they want to have this branded. It will, Erica, what's the name of the platform going to be called?
Montana Commerce Partners.
Okay, so it'll be Welcome to Montana Commerce Partners Program. And, we'll have everything branded. Again, you'll have your own instance. You're going in, you're putting in your orders, and no one else can see it except for us. If Department of Commerce wants to have access to it, that's fine. But anything that you select, anything you do, that's within your individualized password protected username instance. And, the way that we're designing it right now is we'll have all 12 partners, including CrowdRiff, where you can go and you can make your selections. And all the information that you're going to need will be there. When you make your selections on your program, it's going to automatically generate an insertion order and immediate authorization, identifying everything that you chose. And the system will have, just kind of guardrails in place to make sure that you're not ordering more than you want. There'll be opportunities to sign off and confirm, and making sure that we're checking everything, all I's dotted, T's crossed. And then we just have a high level timeline. So we're having our call today. We want to be able to provide you next week just the details on the media partners and the selections available. It may come in a little bit more of a casual deliverable. What we are doing is we're creating a brochure, a digital brochure type unit, where it, not type unit, but type deliverable, where it'll act as a flip book. And each page will have a description, a very thorough description on the partner, what they're going to offer, parameters, and maybe a visual of an ad type that you would select, even possibly a clickable demo. So we are developing that. We're doing a complete overhaul of the program, essentially. So the way that everything is kind of set up right now is, by another week or so, you'll be able to submit your order forms. It's probably going to have to be a bit of a hybrid approach, so it might be a little bit more of what you've been doing and that exchange of the order form that you're used to. But then after that, once we get into warm season, that's winter season, once we get into warm season, everything's going to be fully automated. So, you know, there's definitely more to come, more detail. I know this is a lot of information, but I hope you feel like we heard you and we're opening up the options to, you know, suit everyone's needs. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. If no one has any questions, then we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Paula. Really great information there, and looking forward to seeing everyone participating. So we'll move on to Lizzie with Windfall.
So much. So I'm going to also share my screen. Is everyone able to see my presentation? I can't see very many people, so if you can give me a thumbs up, we'll be good. Okay, thank you, Paula. So this will be the UGC Cooperative Marketing Program. UGC stands for User Generated Content. So this would be any content that's being shared to social media that might be mentioning your particular destination, maybe tagging you, and how you're able to get rights to ultimately reshare that to your own social media. So what we're going to be talking through today is the web core platform features. So these will be the features of the product that we've negotiated on behalf of the partners that we'd like you to be able to take advantage of. So this will include social trackers, search, hashtag rights, galleries, photo walls, and gallery insights. So social trackers in particular is how we're going to be actually searching and finding user-generated content for you to be able to reshare on your social. With CrowdRiff, you'll be able to kind of set these parameters in place. So maybe you have a brand hashtag that people like to use, or you're using this by location based. This will be a stream that brings in all of those search terms in one place. And in a moment, we'll look at an example of that so you have a good idea of what that looks like. You can also search. So using the various filters on CrowdRiff, you're able to really hone in on what you're looking for exactly. And if you're using, you know, kind of the right keywords and search syntax, you can be able to find maybe a really specific thing. So if you're looking for a particular event, maybe a specific spot within your destination, this would be a way in which you can narrow in and find a photo that was created by someone in your community. And finally, how do we get access to that? So that includes the hashtag rights. So this is, again, in partnership with CrowdRiff, setting up a branded hashtag that people will use in order to confirm rights to their photo. And then it will show up in another part of CrowdRiff confirming to you that this has been approved by the user for reposting. What else is really nice is there's going to be a space within CrowdRiff that can store messages for you. So if you have kind of a general message that you like to share, something like, we absolutely love your photo, would you give us permission to reshare this to our social media to promote my destination? And then it would be hashtag yes, and then maybe your brand. So we're going to take a moment to just switch over to the CrowdRiff platform so you have a chance to kind of see what that looks like in action. So this is kind of the stream that Visit Montana has set up with all of the various assets that we could possibly have access to. These are all searched and honed based on keywords, locations, hashtags, and mentions. So we're able to see a lot of variety in terms of possible photos that we could use within our social media. We don't currently have any rights to this. That's where that process would come into place with CrowdRiff to request and then ultimately receive permission to reshare. But what's nice is once you're through with that process, people use that hashtag to approve reposting to your social media. It will appear in this specific stream called Rights Approved. So everything or every photo that's featured within this stream would be available for you to use at your kind of discretion on your social media. So it's really nice for organizing and also keeping track of rights that you have. So we'll switch back to the presentation. Another great feature is as you start to build out the various UGC that you've sourced within your CrowdRiff is that you can create these gallery features. And what's really nice about galleries is it can auto update on your website. So as you curate things on your Instagram in particular, that information will translate over to your website, showing again many aspects and variety of perspectives of your destination. So there's actually one on visitmt.com. I don't know if you've all maybe seen it before in the past, but just wanted to show you that this is toward the bottom of the page. We have links out to Visit MT Social, and then we have the various images that have been shared to Visit Montana's Instagram. A new feature from CrowdRiff is that there's now an autoplay feature. So if you're sharing a reel or something to your Instagram, there will be 2 videos that will autoplay in your feed, bringing some more movement into this. It reminds me of Pinterest, and I think it's been a really nice update from the platform. Okay. Moving into photo walls, so this will be kind of a live feature that you'd be able to take advantage of. So if you have maybe a display within your CVB or DMO office, you would be able to take and curate a specific gallery wall for yourself that could display, whether that's within your office or maybe you'd like to take advantage of promoting your destination at an event. This is an example just from a hashtag Montana moment that was displayed at a particular event. A couple of tips that you can do as well. It doesn't just have to be static. You could have it shuffle or have that tiled or the slideshow feature being able to kind of see like individual images in that. So it's highly customizable as well as, you know, just the ability to grab the very best of the best from your UGC to display. And of course, who doesn't love numbers? Gallery Insights will give you an opportunity to kind of track the different insights from the platform and just measuring that performance against these specific features as you add them to your website. Okay, other numbers, maybe not as fun, but we're going to be talking about the pricing of this. And so if you were to go to CrowdRiff today and say, I would love to sign up for your WebCore licensing package, that would be a value of $12,000. We were able to negotiate a rate of $10,000 with the Department of Commerce prepared to invest $8,500 into that particular program. So we're just asking that partners contribute $1,500 to participate in this UGC tool. So next steps, if you are interested in this tool, we have a deadline of September 25th to express your interest and commitment to the program. My email is Lizzie, Lizzy, at windfallstudio.com. If you have any questions about CrowdRiff prior to the September 25th deadline, feel free to email me and we can definitely get in touch. The plan is for onboarding to kick off October 1st. That will be the day that all partner licenses who have committed to this program will kick off, and those will run for 12 months. So October 1st of this year and then ending September 30th of next year.
All right. Thanks so much, Lizzie. And we'll move on to Pat with the Montana Department of Commerce.
Thank you, Pat. I have a few slides to show here. For those that don't know me, my name is Pat Hollenstergar. I'm the data manager for tourism marketing and research at the Department of Commerce. And there are 4 main platforms that we use for tourism data and research, and that the partners have access to in various ways through the partner program. So I'm going to go through a brief presentation discussing those at a high level, and I'll include my contact information at the end in order to continue the conversation and provide more tailored discussion and support on a one-on-one basis. Without further ado, let me get these slides up. All right, so Can everyone see these slides?
Good on my end, Pat.
All right, thanks, Pat. I can't see anyone based on my view right now, so I appreciate that. But with the data and research resources, the first platform to discuss is Zartico, and Zartico deals with data regarding spending activity as well as movement. Movement being where do people go on the ground in Montana. So they use a suite of credit and debit cards to provide information about spending activity, and they use information from mobile device, GPS recordings and observations to provide movement patterns. The data they provide is useful as representative data rather than being exhaustive. In other words, you can tell general trends, ratios, percentages, things of that nature, but you're not capturing every single person making a purchase, nor every single person moving through a particular area in a given time. In terms of granularity, it's available at the state, city, and county level in Montana, and we also have a few thousand places of interest across the state. If you're interested in activity within a particular location, and that could be anything from a state park to a downtown area. With Zartico, the partners can have their own login to the basic platform, and you would just reach out to me and I would facilitate you getting your own login to the platform. The next platform to discuss is Visa Destination Insights. This was formerly known as VisaView, and this deals with spending data. So this is providing information about financial transactions that are where Visa credit and debit cards are used. And the metrics they provide include spending metrics like average spend, card count, transaction count, total spend, things of that nature. The data that I have and we have available at Commerce is at the statewide level, as well as several subregions. For example, the 6 geographically based tourism regions in Montana are included in the data I have. So what I recommend here is if you have interest in this data, please reach out to me. We can connect and go through what can be useful to you at the statewide level or the subregion level. And beyond that, if you have interest in having your own package with Visa, there are discounts available because of the partnership situation. The next platform to discuss is AirDNA, and this is information about short-term rentals. So rentals on platforms such as Airbnb and VRBO. And they provide metrics such as revenue, ADR, RevPAR, number of listings, occupancy rate, and metrics related to that. At Commerce, we have data available at the statewide level and in certain major markets such as Missoula, Billings, the Flathead area, and so forth. And again, here I would recommend if you have interest in this data, please reach out to me first, because it's probably worthwhile just seeing what is what you can do with the data we already have available and I can give to you. And if it comes to pass that you have an ongoing interest in more localized data, then discounts are available through the partnership program for data at more the CVB or local level. And finally, with the fourth of the 4 platforms is the Smith Travel Research, and they deal with hotel lodging data. So they have a methodology that involves them surveying and getting data from different hotel owners and operators. Their metrics include ADR, occupancy, revenue, RevPAR, lodging metrics of that type. Their data is available at the statewide level and for several larger subregions. For example, they group the Great Falls and the Helena market into one larger, and surrounding towns into one larger region. It's not really available at the CVB level. So it's best used as looking at general trends across the state and perhaps in some of the larger subregions of the state. With those 4 platforms, pardon me, in addition to those 4 platforms, I do want to mention that there's another entity worth looking at and their body of research if you are looking at different questions in the tourism and visitation space, and that's the Institute for Tourism and Recreation Research at the University of Montana. They are completely independent of the Montana Department of Commerce, but they do have a state mandate to do research on non-resident visitation every year, the economic contribution of visitors, as well as many more tailored, year by year projects on specific topics. So depending on the question you have, it can be useful to look at their resources as well. And in closing this together, again, I know I went through this at a fairly high level, a fairly brief level in terms of detail for each of these platforms, but there's so much to each of them in many ways that to dive deeper requires a little bit more time and a little bit more detailed conversation. So if you have requests for access for data, or just want to connect and see how we can support you in your research questions, please reach out to me at the email listed here. And we'll be sending out the presentation decks for all 3 presentation decks from this meeting today, shortly after the meeting. So you'll have them as references on file. But thank you for your time, and that wraps up my section.
Thank you so much, Pat. Always great information to hear all the exciting opportunities to get more data to make informed decisions with. I know that we have a little bit of time left, so if anyone had any questions for either Paula, Lizzie, or Pat, I think you can probably feel free to ask those now, but everyone did have their contact information up on screen. So other ways to engage would be those as well. As Pat mentioned, we are going to be sending this out to partners and also have this available on our landing page for the Co-op Marketing Program on the Montana Department of Commerce website. Quiet group. Maybe that's because of the 12 o'clock hour, but if no one has anything else, we'll give you a little bit of your afternoon back. But thanks again for taking the time to spend and get all this great information, and looking forward to seeing all of you soon.
Bye, everyone.